This has always been one of those things I've never really wanted to talk about on the channel. For a long time I was kind of held back by it, discouraged by it, and I let it affect me more than I should have. Before I started Fall River, I actually started another business, and it lasted for about 5 years, but it ended up just being a burden over my head for a long time. It was failing after the first year, and instead of cutting losses, we ended up trying to keep this business going. I did have a business partner in this business, so it made making decisions a little harder to do. I think that's another reason it was hard to walk away from this business, is it wasn't just me tied to the business, is I had that partner along with me. So the business that I had was just a business where we were flipping houses. My business partner had his own business of doing remodeling, and we just felt like that would fit together with what he did and us trying to flip houses. Unfortunately, when we decided to do this was about the time that the housing market completely dropped out. When we first started and we purchased the house, we were still good. The market was still strong. It was still several months before it just completely bombed. And that was about the time we were finishing the house. Now this house was junk whenever we started. I mean, it was really bad. If I can find some of the pictures, I'll actually have them pop up here so you can see kind of before we started what the house looked like. And I'll throw up some more pictures of the house once we finished it. The house turned out great. I think it turned out awesome. Unfortunately, the market when we got the house up there was not good. What we were wanting to get out of the house was a little higher than where the market was because it had dropped so much. So instead of walking away and just getting rid of it while we had the chance, we decided to hold on to it. This was probably a really bad decision on us, you know, looking back on it, but at the time we just didn't want to cut our losses. We thought, okay, let's just rent it out. We can have rental property and hold on to the house for a little while until the market kind of came back, and then we would put it back up for sale. Well, this was my first experience with being a landlord. For me, this wasn't a great experience. We were kind of unfortunate to end up with some bad renters. One thing I figured out was usually the first year they were good. By the second year was whenever things would start to fall off and rent would get late or get a month behind, and we never could get them caught up. And it's really difficult to evict people. Also, I'm really bad about if somebody gives me a sob story about taking their kid to the ER or something like that. I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll work with you. I think with being a landlord, you can't be that way. You really got to be firm, and this is how it is. This is the money you owe. If you don't pay it, you don't live here anymore. So like I said, I think we held on to it way too long. It ended up costing me a lot of money. I'm thankful that at the time that I had the other job, because that's really what kept everything afloat. Kept me being able to pay my bills, because if I had walked away from that to try to do this, I would have been in a really bad situation. I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't try to flip houses if you want to flip houses. I think there's a lot of people out there that make really good money doing it. There's a lot of money in it. I would just definitely check your market. Just like any other business. I didn't quite do enough research on that business as what I did with Fall River. With that being said, you know, yeah, it was a bad experience at the time, but I learned from that experience. I learned from that failure. So that's really why I went into buying Fall River, with like knowing that I needed to do the research, the market analysis. I needed to find out as much as I could about lawn care before I purchased this business. It was really important to me to not fail again at another business. And this time was a little bit different because I had already lost the other job, so it was like a have to kind of thing. It drove me a little harder to be better, to be a better businessman, to study more, and to look into this business as much as I could before I made the purchase. So looking back on that business, I know it was a failure. I know I lost a lot of money on it, but it was a great learning experience for business and how to move forward. there's also other things I learned in that other business. With my business partner being a remodeler, I worked side by side with him. I learned how to build and construct things and work on houses. So now, owning my own house, there's a lot of things that before I probably would have had to have paid somebody to come in and do, but instead now I can do it myself because of the things that I learned in that business. So despite the fact that I didn't make money in that business, I learned a lot. It was a great learning experience, and I think that's where you have to take your failure. For a long time I was just embarrassed by it, but over time and more thinking about it and realizing I shouldn't be embarrassed of that failure. I should look at it as though that failure was a learning experience, and without that failure I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have today to move forward with Fall River with the abilities that I have to understand business and what it takes to run a business and what not to do. So not every business is successful, not every businessman is successful. Not everyone is going to be successful in entrepreneurship, and sometimes it takes multiple tries before you are successful. So just because you may not feel like you're succeeding as much as somebody else, or you're not growing as fast as other people, don't let that bother you. Just keep driving your route. Keep going on your road. Just keep moving forward, and as you move forward, every time you have a failure or you make a mistake, make sure you learn from that and don't make that mistake over and over again. And that's kind of what I took away from mine, is I never wanted to make that mistake of not knowing the market, not knowing what I need to know to succeed in the market that I'm in. And that is one reason I don't talk about my pricing, I don't talk about what I spent on Fall River, is everybody's market is different. I would be doing you an injustice by giving you the prices that are in my area, because if you base your prices off of my area and what my prices are, then that is only going to hurt you, because your prices in your area may be lower than what the prices are in my area, or vice versa. Your area may be higher than what my area is, and then you're going to be underbidding things. So to me, I just don't think that sharing that kind of knowledge works on the channel. I don't think it works with helping you guys. I think you just really got to study the market that you're in and move forward from that. So guys, I really just wanted to share this failure with you. Hope this helped you. I know this video is quite a bit different than a lot of the stuff I do, but I hope in some way that this might help you to drive you forward in your business, and know that even though you might be failing or you feel like you're failing, it's really not a failure, because it's something you can learn from, you can move forward from, and better yourself from that.